Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're definitely recording. That's the first thing I checked actually as we were talking, because I did that inadvertently, wasn't it? Before, where we're inadvertently chatting along and recording. However, people can still hear us, but for the recording later, it's not terrific, is it? Sorry, Christina.
So my kind of point 1.1 is get some really awesome business friends who can help you at all times with. And because Blab isn't it's not as easy as with things like webinars and stuff in terms of screen sharing. So I'm not going to go into massive technical detail. If you want me to elaborate on any point, just please ask away in the comments. If you do / and then a capital Q, it kind of really flags questions up. But also, I know Denise and Emma will be keeping an eye on the comments while I'm chatting away. So the first point that I want to talk about is really about knowing your numbers. And to me, I am not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. To be honest, that's the kind of side of my business I like the least, but it is the most important part of running an e-commerce business, is to really know your numbers. So what am I talking about when I say that? It's knowing the kind of basic stats that drive your business. And I find it really scary that I go into established e-commerce businesses that actually are also successful e-commerce businesses, and that they're doing a reasonable turnover, and they've been up and running for several years. And I say to them things like, what is your conversion percentage? So, what percentage of people who visit your website are going through your shopping cart? And they just kind of look at me blankly. So the kind of key numbers, there are massive amounts. And I will do a webinar about very detailed e-commerce analytics, but you guys are going to wait till after Christmas for that one, and a few nights of 8 hours sleep. But on a sort of top level, so I, as well as my e-commerce businesses, I've also got a digital marketing agency, and like most business owners are really strapped for time. So what I do is I have my own sort of like daily dashboard. So when it comes to the e-commerce businesses, there's kind of 3 or 4 top line statistics that I'm bothered about monitoring daily. And I have these set up in Google Analytics to send through a report that hits my inbox every morning. And it doesn't really matter. It's literally, I can have it all sorted while I'm drinking my coffee. This year I've done a huge amount of travel. I think sort of pretty much every 6 weeks I've been getting on a plane, a lot of time in the USA, Europe. I was over in Dublin last month. And so it's really important that when I'm off doing lots of other, sometimes on the surface, more exciting things, and looking at e-commerce analytics, you're still keeping a sort of nail on it. So the kind of stats I'm bothered about on a daily basis is, number one, how, daily sales. And that is really, there's so much with kind of marketing, and you can get caught up in a lot of statistics. Ultimately, whatever you're doing, it's got to put money through your checkout and into your bank account. Otherwise, there is no e-commerce business to carry on sort of tweaking. So daily sales. I then want to know about my conversion percentage. So I have, on my daily reports, and looking at daily, there will be a fair bit of variation. Typical e-commerce site will convert somewhere between 2, 4% is good. Anything above 4, you're really heading into sort of major metrics. So what do I mean by that? It means that for every 100 people that visit your website that day, between 2 and 4 of them will end up completing the checkout. And, so there is a final, the order is completed, the money's in your bank account, it's done and dusted. Reasons why I monitor the percentage is, A, it's very important, but statistics, as I said, kind of looking at it daily, it does bounce around a fair bit, but that for me is my little warning signal. If I suddenly see a really low conversion sort of percentage that's way below the average for that website, or conversely it's really high, it's a little red flag for me to pour a second cup of coffee, open up my Google Analytics and dig around. If my conversion rate is very high, it might be because there's been some particular sort of media coverage that I'm perhaps not aware of yet. Things might have been on BuzzFeed or Board Panda, or websites that can send huge amounts of traffic over a very short period of time. Conversely, if my e-commerce conversion percentage is very low, and certainly perhaps one day is kind of, you can have a freaky day. 2 days in a row, I am seriously freaked out. and I'm doing a lot of digging around. I use, as well as Google Analytics, which is a great tool. If you've not got it installed on your e-commerce website, then slap yourself hard. And as soon as we're off this blab, go install it. So it's free, massively powerful set of kind of analytics. But on top of that, I use something called Hotjar. Brilliant. Thanks, Emma, for linking that up. And in fact, actually, then if you could type in, it's hotjar.com. And Hotjar allows you to have video sort of analytics on your site. So it's recording your site visitors as well as making heat maps. And it can be really useful when there's something a little bit weird going on and you're not quite sure. You can literally watch videos of people navigating around your website and very quickly see if there's perhaps a usability problem, there's some little error. I had something where something random had gone on with pricing, and so there's some sort of inconsistencies, and that's the kind of thing that wouldn't show up in Google Analytics necessarily. It would just show that perhaps people weren't, the conversion rate was lower because people weren't going through and adding to cart, but it didn't flag up what the particular problem with the site was. The other thing so my kind of third stat is traffic. Again, that I've just want to be keeping an eye on that fairly closely. And then the other then that I match it against is my daily advertising spend. And so those 4 sort of figures tells me how much money I'm making, how much money I've spent to make that money, if there's any, kind of what percentage of people are converting, and then how many people are on my site. And those are the four metrics that, sort of once a month, there's a more detailed one, and once a quarter. So either tomorrow or on the 27th of December, I sit down and do a big quarterly sort of KPI exercise across all the e-commerce sites for myself and clients. And for that, I'm looking at really sort of like quarterly trends, and that's where you're seeing the impact of work you're doing on things like search engine optimization, etc. But that daily monitoring is so important. And the reason why I also add in the advertising spend is kind of leads nicely onto the next point, which is all about sort of controlling costs. Because advertising, the beauty of online advertising is you can be massively responsive. And what do I mean by that? Well, if there's something happening in your business or there's a particular trend, you can jump on it so quickly compared to a print advert. But conversely, it can also mean that your costs can really quickly sort of spiral out of control. And it's the biggest problem I see when I go in and audit Google AdWords accounts for clients is they've not logged in. I had someone fess up that they'd not opened up their AdWords account for 18 months.
Wow.
I had
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. In an e-commerce?
Sorry?
Or is that in an e-commerce
business? No. Luckily, it wasn't. But it was a business with a big AdWords budget. They were spending. When I say big, I mean they were spending comfortably 4 figures a month. So not giant, but neither was it an insignificant sum to not have any idea of what was going on. So before I sort of talk a little bit kind of further, okay, I can see here I've got a question from Carol. What else should you look for when you don't have a shopping cart? So what's your business, Carol? Can you type into the chat box for me? Or you can jump on live if you're feeling brave. Basically marketing. Okay, great. Well, in that case, it's whatever the goal is. She's not feeling brave to come on live. That's fine.
Come on, Carol.
We're not that scary.
In Jim Jam, that's okay. We don't mind.
So that's a really good question. In some ways, e-commerce makes it quite simple because the goal of your website is very, you want people going through your shopping cart. That is it. In marketing, so for example, with the website for my marketing agency, I have a couple of different sort of key indicators that I'm looking at. So for that, it would be people signing up for newsletter lists, and then people signing up for various lead magnets that I've got on my website. So I don't know if you're familiar with the team lead magnets. It would be, so with the e-commerce websites, your lead magnets are typically things you'll see, sign up for our newsletter and get 10% off your first order. Join our club, again, by signing up and handing over your email address, and we'll give you free shipping for 12 months. In a kind of more service-based and marketing business, you're offering the same. It's hard to do a kind of straight discount offer offer sort of, in that to be as blatant as sign up for my newsletter and get 10% off your first month's fee. You don't actually see that a lot. I'm not sure why. It might actually be a really, really effective thing, but quite often you see people doing things like for a free website audit or Google AdWords account review, things like webinars, and it's bringing people down that little stage of the buying process. So it's exactly the same. In e-commerce, it's far more recognised that there's this very classic buying cycle. And we're at the end of it at the moment in the sort of Christmas period. So certainly here in the UK, it needs a minor miracle now to get an order in and get it delivered pre-Christmas. But what you saw is that sort of back in September, October time, people were very much in research stage where they're trying to decide. So I know Emma has been Christmas shopping today and is inflicting hell on herself over Christmas by buying her daughter an Elsa Frozen doll. You're insane, woman.
I would go and get it, but believe me, I'm going to be listening to it all over Christmas. So yeah, not quite now. Actually, can I just quickly ask you something, if you don't mind, Christina? I was really interested to hear about that hotjar.com. And for anybody that's just on Christina's been kindly giving us some tips, but just in relation to look at how people are going through your website. How does that work? Is that paid, or how much is that?
Good question. I'm not sure, because I'm on an account that gives me a lot of website profiles on there because I use it for my own clients. I know it's not massively expensive, and certainly for the sort of information, I think it might be around the sort of $20 a month mark.
Wow, that's really good. But does it literally show you, say, if I go onto your website, say, and I look at the home page, and then I go to, I don't know, some other page, and then I go to the cart, and then I disappear back to another page, does it kind of show kind of the route that I would take? Is that what it does? Or
it's if you've got almost like a screen share. There's no personally identifiable information. So it won't show kind of going through into the kind of checkout area where people start typing in names and addresses. But it does show location. It shows what browsers they're on, whether they're on a PC or a Mac.
Okay.
It shows then, it's actually really useful for seeing your site in action across a huge amount of devices, so mobile versus tablet versus PC. How people are scrolling through, because you can either watch the live video recordings, which is literally as if I was sat next to you while you're navigating my website, or you can also use like the heat map version, and what that does is aggregates the sort of mouse movements and clicks of a larger group of visitors and shows what buttons are being clicked on.
Wow.
How people are scrolling through your website, and it's really, I think sometimes you can get sort of a little bit lost down the rabbit hole of things like UX, user experience design, and site optimization, and I really like I found it's a great one for showing to my team and my clients because it's so simple. It really hammers the point across that it's, there's some important sort of design principles you need to keep in mind. And especially you've rolled out changes to your site and you think you've got all this beautiful information and realise that most people aren't scrolling more than like a third down your page. They're not seeing any of it and things like that. So, again, really useful.
That sounds terrific, because of course then you can adapt and change. So if it's not really working, it's about understanding what's not working, isn't it, and changing that. I can see Trevor in the chat there saying something about our live chat. Is it talk.tawk.to shows visitor data and activity in real time? I don't know if you've come across that.
I haven't. We're using OLAC at the moment, but I've got a couple to put on my test list for January. So I'd be interested to chat to you sort of off blab about talk to Trevor. And I think live chat, it actually kind of surprises me that it's very the kind of level of data you have access to as a marketer in e-commerce, that you can be using live chat and seeing as people are adding things, going around your website exactly what they've added to cart, and kind of the problem is almost not to come across as a creepy stalker. Message say, I see you've added this. Do you need any help?
Right.
I mean, that's perhaps something that today you perhaps would amp up, because there's been a lot of clueless men shopping for Christmas gifts, and I think they're quite great. mentioning things like gift wrap and whatnot. But yeah, I'm just going to flip back because I saw as Carol was asking, going back to her sort of earlier question about when does the buying cycle start in 2016. This year has been a really not a strange year. It's actually gone very much to prediction. So I was down at the retail conference in London back in September, and they're predicting in the UK the first £1 billion online day for Black Friday, which it was. But then predicting that the second busiest day of the year would be Cyber Monday, and the third busiest day of this year online would be Christmas Day itself.
Wow.
And we've certainly seen a really strong kind of sort of Black Friday hit, and it was also payday here in the UK. So for those of you who aren't based in the UK, certainly here it tends to be fairly normal that people are paid monthly. So Black Friday hit on what was also the last payday before Christmas. And so, but it never really tailed off. It stayed strong the whole way through December, and then I'm expecting Christmas Day to be busy. And in terms of buying, when does 2016 start? 1st of Jan. So I've seen a lot of American, not so much e-commerce, but business to business businesses going after. I think in the US, does your tax year end on the 31st of December? I'm sure it does from all the Facebook ads I'm seeing about, if you're, rather than paying tax, you could invest that money in, products, whether that be sort of coaching, consultancy, or buying physical or digital products. And I think whereas before there was this very much, it came from very much a manufacturing basis. So we deal with certain suppliers, and actually in the north of England, it has to be said, where it's still kind of traditional, where they have that. They close down for 2 weeks over the summer. They close down for 2 weeks over Christmas. All the staff we have 4 weeks of holiday here in the UK, pretty much. So that makes all the Americans jealous whenever I mention that, of a paid holiday for employees. Not for business owners, sadly. So you used to have that. Yeah, you're jealous. I know. People are always shocked when they find out about UK employee benefits. But that's a whole other ranty blab. Give me some time and let me on a different topic. But it's very much switched, and a big part of what's driving that is mobile. This year it saw now certainly mobile is now more than 50% of traffic on the web on average. And so that's a biggie. 3 biggest mistakes e-commerce businesses make. I would actually say I've not specifically got mobile included in there, but if you've not got a mobile optimized website, you are committing suicide in your e-commerce business. So, after this blab, sort out your Google Analytics, and then tomorrow morning, ring up someone to get your website mobile optimized. But I'm kind of assuming now I'm seeing less and less of it being a problem, because people whose websites aren't mobile optimized are going out of business so quickly that you're not coming across them. But in terms of browser sort of behavior, it means that now, Christmas Day, you'll have had your lunch here in the UK, 3 p.m, Queen's speech. It'll kind of get to 4 o'clock. People are very bored of their families. They're going to whip out their mobile phones and start shopping. And again, because the trend, a lot of people is they're giving cash for Christmas and they're in the mood to spend it. I think business to business, it can be very much that, certainly for me, I really enjoy the time between Christmas and New Year, because it's really the only time of the year that the entire business world is kind of on a shutdown, unless you're in catering. And so it's a real chance to plan. It's the end of the calendar year. For many people, it's the end of the business year. You're coming up to the end of things to do, tax years in the UK. In this office, I've been talking about too much today, and people are very much in a very, what's the kind of right mood? Not pensive. I can't think of my words tonight. Reflective. That is
reflective,
the perfect word. Thank you, Emma. So, and then.
No problem. You've been up since 5 a.m. We'll let you probably went to bed at 2, so we'll let you off for that. I just wanted to do a quick reminder there. just everybody, just in terms of who we are, just very quickly. Christina is obviously our e-commerce ninja. She's a digital marketing expert and owns 3 e-commerce businesses, and is helping us all here this evening in terms of offering some help with relation to e-commerce businesses and offering some tips. Denise has been in business over 25 years. She is former CEO for 8 years and has some, wonderful business insights to share with people. I'm Emma Darcy. I'm a marketing strategist, and I've been working in business for over 20 years as well, from different sales and marketing backgrounds as well. So I guess really just today quickly, we've been doing a series of blabs just about helping people and with marketing, with business, and we hope you're enjoying it. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Put / and then put a Q and then a space bar to ask any questions. If you'd like to give the love, there's a lot of people giving love to, just pressing the hands, if you don't mind, in terms of just sharing out this message, we'd really appreciate it. And just Christina's going to kind of tell us a little bit more, but before she does, I'd just like to introduce you to the fact that we are going to be doing a mastermind for business owners in the new year. And if you kind of stay with us, we'll tell you a bit more about that. But just to kind of introduce that notion there, that we will be doing that in the new year, and it's all about helping business owners. It's about growth, and it's about really getting down and achieving your goals in the new year. So I'll go back to Christina, and I know you want to talk about expenses and controlling expenses, which is a huge part of e-commerce and any business indeed. So would you like to explain a bit more about that from the e-commerce perspective, please?
Yeah,
Christina, if you don't mind.
This again is not it's not one of my favorite things to do, but as you guys can probably tell, I'd far prefer to be marketing every single second of the day rather than looking at cash flow projections. But with the kind of danger, well, I think with actually pretty much every business, but specifically with e-commerce, you can be very sales focused. It's always about how many orders have you had, what are the daily sales, what are your weekly sales, etc. And you forget that to look at your profit. And, it really depends on what particular products you're selling. I operate a lot in the gift industry and jewellery. So here in the UK, we have fairly standard margins, and we're getting more and more, it's illegal in the UK, well, in fact, under Europe, to price fix. So manufacturers cannot fix prices on products, but they are getting more and more creative in certain ways to make people do it. So it means that everyone's operating very much on, your competition are selling very similar products at similar prices, and so your sort of difference, how you can succeed over them, if you're selling the same thing for the same price, is by making more profit. And if you're selling at the same price, the only way you can make more profit is by lowering your expenses. And to my mind, the 2 biggest sort of expenses that are directly related to sales, that I'm not going to talk tonight about all the other expenses, things like warehouses and staff or outsourced fulfillment. But I just want to talk about 2 ones that are simple to measure, and a couple of little tweaks that you can possibly do very quickly, which will make your profitability a lot better in 2016. So the first one is to do with card processing. We're really lucky now, compared to when I first started, that there's so many options for taking payments online. And there's a huge amount of variation in the charges. So whether you're with a traditional merchant account where they charge either sort of a monthly fee and then different card rates, you've then got lots of new ones. Kind of Stripe is getting more established, but it's still a relative newbie on the block. When you sort of look at sort of the context of online payments over kind of 20 to 30 years. There's something brand new, which is on my list of tests next year, called Klarna, which is, well, it's brand new into the UK. It's Scandinavian. I can never remember whether it's Norway or Sweden. I'm sorry if it's Scandinavian, so I'm blab this evening. But it's a mobile optimized checkout, and they're also adding the possibility of, they're actually credit scoring during the checkout process, and offering people a 2-week credit terms to allow people to receive and inspect the goods before they have to pay for them. Yeah, wow. And so it's interesting from a consumer point of view, but they are, if their stats are to be believed, they're showing tremendous conversion rates through their checkout. So it goes back to my sort of point number 1, which is about knowing your numbers, and being able to get a 1% increase in your conversion rate, particularly through mobile, can you can put up 50 to 100% on your on your turnover for the year just by making that, a 1% gain. You can get your checkout conversions from 2 to 4% straight away. Double the business for the same amount of people on the site. One thing that I got caught out on, I hadn't realised. I said we've had a really busy year, and what it meant is that I was eligible for better rates on my PayPal business account. PayPal don't automatically apply them. You have to request to be put on a more competitive percentage, and straight away, for doing exactly the same amount of business, it means more money in your back pocket at the end of the year as the business owner. So,
can I just quickly ask you there, actually, Christina, if you don't mind, just in terms of, PayPal and that, is there, obviously there's a specific rate if you're getting, or turnover that you're getting to, and then you're having to do this where you're looking for better rates. Is that the way you do it? Or should you be kind of asking them on a fairly regular basis, or what's that process?
That's a really good question. I've never tried getting on the phone and bartering with PayPal, but perhaps I should try. They're fairly public in how they publish their, it's in bands. If there's anyone who's live today who's tried negotiating over the phone with PayPal, could you type in the comments? Because I'd love to know. That's gone on my list.
I had to call them recently, actually, because I was, they were looking for me to update my data, and they were looking for a fax of all things, and I had to go and find somewhere that actually had a fax to send it. But I ended up calling somebody, and they were really, really helpful. But what I noticed as well, they have a whole new marketing campaign for the new year. So I think they might be very open. Maybe you could be a case study or something for them, where they're giving you really good rates because you've negotiated that with them or something like that. That might be really interesting. And just the other thing as well with is it Klarna, the mobile optimized? What way is that with your phone? Sorry, I didn't quite catch all of that.
It's they've worked on. Back. So the big problem many people have is, even if their websites are quite attractive on mobile, the checkout process is still very clunky. Because asking people to enter a lot of information, perhaps over several pages, and so you get a big drop off between people who are on the website, they add to cart, and they don't end up completing the checkout because it's not. It's just not a pleasant process. I use Shopify for my e-commerce websites. I've bounced around quite a few providers. The new site that's rolling out in January is to be confirmed, whether we build it on WordPress with WooCommerce and some sort of fairly interesting back-end integration. But
is that your cat? Sorry, Denise, it sounds like a baby in the background. Is there something you'd like to tell us?
I've been, because I've been away such a lot the last few weeks. I came back and she's just very noisy.
Sorry, I genuinely thought there was a in the background with somebody. I was trying to work out who it was.
Well, I thought it might have been your daughter, Emma, but you were looking so relaxed about it. You weren't having that stressed parent look, so I thought it can't be.
Yeah. She's not here, you see, so I don't even have to look.
So I think with Klarna, what they've got is they've got a very well optimized their kind of checkout. So you would go through the sort of adding to cart processes within your own website, and then it takes you over to Klarna to complete the checkout process. And they've worked very hard with split testing to make in that they're showing. I mean, this is their marketing spiel. So I will, hands up, I have not tested Klarna. So ask me in 3 to 6 months. I will say from personal experience that Shopify worked hard on improving their checkout sort of procedure, and they rolled out a responsive mobile sort of friendly checkout probably back in sort of August, September time, and we did see a slight bump in conversion percentage since that's been implemented, actually consistently across the 3 Shopify sites. And there isn't really any major tweaking that's gone on. I tend to, all my sort of fiddling around stops 1st of October. It's like, okay, do not do any radical experimenting in the 4th quarter. So I'm fairly confident that the increase in conversion has come partly because of their checkout. So if you're not using a if it's just the kind of thing which, this is where going back to Hotjar can be really useful, because you can watch lots of different people. And the biggest problem is you're so familiar with your own website. Well, hopefully you are, especially if you're an e-commerce business owner. You're spending a lot more time perhaps on your website than a typical business owner. So you should know it inside out. And you might think things are perfectly obvious. There are so many times where I've had a little rant in the corner, that is so bloody obvious. How, just how or why, or and we've ended up doing copious amounts of FAQs for, this is how you enter a coupon code, find the large box in the checkout labeled up coupon codes. So I see Trevor wants to join us, so I'm gonna add Trevor because I'm intrigued to find out. I think this will be the best video.
Oh, whoops, hang on.
Actually, Christine, if you could make one or myself or Ginny's hosts as well, just in case you get popped out for any reason, because then we lose the whole
I'm not
blab.
doing very well with my my blab housekeeping, am I? No recording, forgetting to co-host. You can see, how I've removed one.
We lost Trevor. He'll have to come back in again.
Emma, you should be a co-host now. Sorry, guys, you can tell it's been a long day, which is sort of a long week.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just really, in case it went. Oh, Mr. Wonderful is here. I love that.
Hey, there we go.
Hi, Trevor.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Yeah, this is just
Trevor,
right up
how
my
are
street,
you?
this subject. Live and breathe this. I've been
I
there,
bet.
seen there, done it, got a t-shirt. So,
I'm intrigued. You were right at the beginning of the blab. Emma had mentioned using sort of product video demos on Blab.
yeah.
So tell me, because we had a guest on our Monday night from a video production company, and we're talking all about the importance of video.
Yeah.
So love to know your kind of thoughts and insight on that.
Well, one of our businesses is selling jam jars. And to do that, we then teach how to make jam, because that then leads on to people buying the jars and supplies. So my wife makes jam. Before e-commerce really kicked in, we did YouTube videos, we did some DVDs that people could actually buy in the post, we could send them a DVD pack. And then Blab came out, so we thought, well, let's do making jam on Blab. So we did an hour show of making raspberry jam live on Blab. So that's quite challenging. I had 2 cameras and screen sharing and lots of tech going on, trying to get it all working, but it works pretty well.
You showed us with a picture, didn't you, on your Facebook? And it looked pretty cool. He had his whole kitchen set up with all these cameras and tripods and all sorts of stuff going on. And then his wife is there looking all serene with her
She's
jam.
used to it. She's done like Car Fest and things like that. She's done grand designs, and so she's used to be on the stage. So she's simple at that. I was there trying to do 2 cameras and the comments and keep people going, and it was a bit frantic. But no, it went okay. So we're going to try and Christmas just gets in the way, doesn't it? So we'll do more in the new year, I think. Get going with that. So, but no, the jam jars is a funny one, because we started off our e-commerce business, or one of them, back in about 2008, when you couldn't buy jam jars online. And
wow.
So my wife said to me, "Why don't we just do a website?" I said, "Oh, if you insist." So over Christmas, I knocked up a bit of a website, and 2 years later, we had £1 million turnover.
Jam jars, that is awesome.
Sold over.
That's that's the shortest introduction I've ever heard. Like we just did a website, and then over a year we were million turnover. You've got to give a bit more insight on that now, Trevor.
It was 2008 when sort of e-commerce was not really happening. You had eBay and stuff like that, but e-commerce was a bit clunky, and only big companies did it. And the mistake I made is making a slick website that looked too corporate. And people thought we were some massive, great warehouse and really sleek, call centres and teams of people. And it was just me and Rosemary in our kitchen, So it grew to a 30,000 square foot warehouse and 28 staff in those 2 years.
Wow.
So, and hands-on. I've done everything from I'm a custom-built website, all the payment systems. I've lived with PayPal and got rid of PayPal because I hate it. Got proper credit cards, Sage Pay, got security, upgraded servers because the website crashed because you got too busy. And a lot of people don't realise that web servers can get too busy if you're having a good website. So we were up and down offline for sort of 4 weeks while we built a new server and got that all sorted out. And so a tortuous journey in 2 years. And in the days when there wasn't the environment we've now got, where we've got lots of help, lots of advice. I mean, you talk about other different payment systems. In those days, it was a real struggle to get an internet merchant account. It was PayPal or nothing.
We were at the time based up in Snowdonia, up in North Wales, and I think we were the first business in Gwynedd to have an internet merchant account. And going into, so you're a small little Welsh market town, and it's pretty much sheep farming, that is, and tourism during the summer. And like, we'd like a merchant account, and they're like, well, and now you can, when kind of Stripe came out, and it was like, fill in our online application form, and like 2 minutes later, okay, you're approved. Just turn it live on your website.
I get worried. I get worried with Stripe. That's for another blab on the security issues of skimming credit card data, but that's for another blab. So
we're actually hoping I've actually asked Patrick Collison, because I know him and his parents have asked him would he come on Blab and do an interview. So I'm still waiting to hear back, I have to say, but here's hoping. You can, if he's coming on, Trevor, I'll let him.
I'm a SagePay partner, not an advert. I just happen to work with SagePay, not SagePay technology. Yeah. And SagePay were bringing out a copy of Stripe, and I had a long discussion with them on the security of credit card data skimming, and I think they were a bit woken up as to what I was saying, really. But I'd love to dig deeper into the security side of credit card processing and online selling and stuff. So,
I think that's what
sounds fantastic.
Sort of the.
Can I just jump in there because? Sorry, Christina, just Trevor, you might know the answer to this. We've one poor lady in the chat, Carol, and her sharing the love has gone automatic and gone bananas, and she can't stop it. So I'm just wondering, do you know how to stop it? Because Trevor is actually fantastic at Blab, but she's done like 10.
I would suggest just close the browser and open again and see what happens. Or just keep sending
that's the classic tech support answer. Just say,
I love that.
But we appreciate the love, Carol. So thank you.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really good point.
On Blab, they might actually send out an email about our Blab as it's been so loved.
I know. It's really trendy. We're going viral.
Yeah, you can have it trending, Carol.
But she didn't mean to. I thought that was so funny. Just I saw it in the chat. She's like, I actually can't stop this. It's on automatic. And I was wondering, God, this lady really loves us.
Yeah, and hopefully Carol's going to be on our next Blab. And
she's saying for you that helped.
Well, hopefully we'll be on our next Blab, Carol, and then and we'll have a fantastic audience because the whole of the Blab world will show.
That's a really Trevor's spot that you such a fab point about the complexities involved in payment systems, and there's so much sort of beyond the build your shop and choose your products. And then when you're talking about your warehouse, another which is it's a really unsexy subject, and everyone was in stitches actually in the office at how excited I got about getting a new supplier of Jiffy envelopes, which meant we saved an extra 2p per envelope, and I kind of calculated out that per year. I was like, great, that's like 2 weeks in the Caribbean for me, just from choosing envelope supply.
That's also a lot of, what you're talking about is great about the front end, getting the orders in. But another blab is then getting the orders out. And that's why I've got a lot of effort. A lot of our systems now are all barcoded and really reduce the transaction time to get the order out of the system and integrating with dispatch systems. And it's another minefield that a lot of people I see get an e-commerce website, they've got their Google AdWords, they've got their analytics, they've got the sales. And then they start getting orders and go, I've got 2 orders today. That's great. I can cope with that. And then they get 10 orders and they get 20 orders. I mean, in our busy time, we were getting 300 odd orders a day. And, when you're processing those kind of orders upwards, you've got to have some fairly slick systems. Because if you don't, customers on the phone saying, where's my order? You need the online tracking. And it's another minefield. You get too busy and then you can't cope with the back end. And
it's a nice problem, but it's still it's a nice problem on the surface, but it's painful that we've had this year a really unexpected. We had some products featured on The Apprentice, which was fab, and because of my background in digital marketing, it meant that we were going to make the very most of this. So it was like sort of the Starship Enterprise here, just sort of sat there, multiple screens while it's going out, with analytics and off the sites, and upping Google AdWords budgets every 5 minutes, because you could just see the orders blasting in. And then sort of came into complete high that night, came the next morning, and you're like, holy cow. this is kind of in there. America, and just so it's been, the logistics side of that was challenging. The sales side of it, awesome.
Well, I think a lot of people don't even think about that when they start. They think about, do I use PayPal, do I use Shopify, whatever? What do I use? They get the website, got the pictures, and they've got no idea how they're then going to get the product out the door. And
and I think one thing that Denise, I know she works very closely with her clients on helping them really forecast their businesses. So and there's things where just like we were talking about with the credit cards, that you can end up with kind of better rates as you hit certain bands. Exactly the same as with shipping. And there's sometimes where it's perhaps worth pushing sales up. So certainly things like Royal Mail, the way their bands kind of sit, you think, well, I'm kind of going to really, really aggressive with my marketing. Yes, to build sales, but also to know that it will push you up into the next postage band. So in the short term, you're taking a little bit of hit on your profitability, but you know that your kind of savings over the next couple of years, just from making an extra 5, 10, 15% saving on all your postage. So there's so much. I can go back to my point one about knowing your numbers. It's also that with the sort of planning, and this, sadly, I find it really frustrating that, and I don't know if you've found this the same, that although there's massive amounts of resources online about the marketing, when it comes to logistics and shipping and all the kind of, it just seems there's loads of us all working in isolation, probably making exactly the same problems.
I know. Well, when we were, when you start booking the couriers, you'd have to type in names and addresses and stuff. And we said to our local courier, can't you integrate? Can we integrate the data? And they looked at me and said, I don't know, I'll have to ask somebody at head office. And we're in Leicestershire way, and I think in Leicestershire we were one of the first people to integrate the technology into the courier's booking system. So in our warehouse, we basically had a touch screen. You'd tap in the order number, you'd tell it how many boxes, what the weight, and it would book it, and the integrated labels in the courier would come out on the printer within seconds. And they actually used us as a case study because they'd never done it before. And this is a fairly major UK courier company that have never done it in Leicestershire.
And yet you had yesterday or the day before SpaceX firing rockets up and back again.
I know.
And this is the big problem, because I'm really conscious about your kind of, as an e-commerce business, you do all this wonderful marketing, you send them to a beautiful website, and you kind of fire off emails, and so as far you've kind of tried to generate this beautiful customer experience. And then last year, and in fact, part of the reason why we got out of this particular product range, that it was something that had a lot of breakages in the post. With someone who on CCTV had a courier, she's throwing it over there, out again.
Wow. Been there many times.
For £250 a sculpture in bits 3 days before Christmas, and it was like, it's kind of,
Just about as of interest, actually, does your insurance cover that, or what way does that work?
It varies, doesn't it, courier?
Different couriers, and sometimes, and again, actually, this is probably, again, I said I'd be honest with mistakes I made in my business, probably a sort of lack of systems and a lack of enthusiasm to argue with couriers for days on end to get.
They just wear you down, don't they? Yeah. We've never had a successful claim through a courier, and we've tried them all. And they just seem to manage to just disappear and tell you there's some excuse, and you just give up the will to live because you're so busy just getting your orders out. You just can't keep on wasting our time getting 10 quid back.
I think what helped us was and Denise will know about this. I was guest spotting at a local BNI meeting for a member who was away, and I was there very much with my marketing agency head on. And at the time, the head of our local courier was the national courier, but the local franchisee gave me his business card with his mobile number on. And he's regretted it ever since. Instead of going through 20 call centres, I just pick up the phone and I'm like, come on, So.
But it just goes to show you there's other parts to e-commerce as well. I mean, because obviously I worked in the retail industry for quite a while, particularly when I was with Lidl, the German supermarket chain. We often had to order stock, kind of like you, Christina, we're ordering wine, for example, in June for Christmas. And equally, the logistics side of it could potentially be a nightmare, because what could the warehouse hold? I suppose sometimes like some of my clients, if they start buying in stock, what they often don't think about is the cost of actually having stock in a warehouse, because you both obviously have the situation situation where it's flying out the door quite quickly. But the other side of it is, if it doesn't quite flow out as quickly as you expect it, the cost of actually holding it and where do you hold it, the logistics of it, it's just kind of a bit of an FYI to kind of do your kind of research into the costings around that, because you can have, here in Ireland anyway, you've government rates and all that sort of stuff as well that can go in on top of that, and even like you're talking about the systems as well, tracking, you know, the stock coming in and the barcodes. I mean, I worked for, you know, Lidl, and they were, you know, they had over 4,000 stores all over Europe at the time, and every day one of the first jobs I had to do, because I worked in stock control and equally in the buying department, they were both combined. One of the first things I had to do, because the system didn't work properly, was go down to the chiller and count all the chickens and the sausages and stuff, like quite literally. And I used to be in the middle of the summer going down, you know, literally with my scarf on and hat and gloves and everything, because I was like, it's a huge chiller. But literally because it didn't scan in. And what we had learned was we used to get some of the warehouse staff to go down and check it, but because they weren't being, you know, they didn't really care. Well, not that they didn't care, but it wasn't really part of their job description. They were actually making up the numbers as well. So we were losing, you know, because it's chilled stock and it has a short shelf life, you know, the stock that was being thrown out was massive. So literally for a period of about 8 months, that's what I had to do every day. So it just goes to show that this, even in bigger companies, this sort of stuff can happen. And tracking it going in and equally going out and stuff is really important. So I think there's kind of added parts to e-commerce that, like you're saying, with logistics and couriers and whatnot, that people perhaps don't think about when they're going into it.
There's so much. I mean, we have a printing, social stationery printing business. So each stage of that process, each job sheet is all got barcodes on it. So we know has the paperwork been printed, has the order been printed, has it been packed, has it been dispatched, and each of those stages has a barcode. So that updates our system, equally updates the public website, so the customers have tracking, so they can see where it is in the system. Because a product like that, because it's personalised, can take 3 or 4 days. It's not like shipped in 24 hours. So they want to know, have you got it? You know, number of people, I don't know about you, get people, they place an order online and they phone up 10 minutes later saying, I've just placed an order, I just wanted to check you've got it okay.
Yeah, and I think the big guys aren't doing us any favours here. So I'm based about 15 miles outside of Bristol. So we're actually incredibly rural for being so close to the M4 and the M5 motorway network, and sort of 2 hours from London for the foreign folk. But it means that we have quite early sort of courier collections in and out of the warehouse, and yet Amazon have just rolled out their same day delivery, and they will do it even out here. So I can order at 2 p.m. and at 6 p.m. Someone appears at your home with your order. And Next have been, I think they've pushed it up to the order. It's either 9 p.m. or midnight, and we'll deliver today. And so the pressure on small businesses, people are getting used to the same standards of they're wanting that speed. And also the 7-day service. So, like you say, people, you'll have an order placed at 11:30 on a Friday night on just a standard delivery, and they're on the phone on Monday morning, so my order's not turned up yet. It's not even being packed.
Well, it's quite interesting. It also proves customers don't read. And you can put on your delivery help page, your delivery timescales, you can write in black and white, you can put it in plain English, and customers will not read and do not read, and they just assume because Next delivers everything minutes after you press that play button. They assume everybody does that. And our biggest complaint, we get people on the phone shouting at us saying, my order hasn't turned up yet. I ordered it 2 days ago. Where is it? You say it's going to be delivered. No, we don't say that. Where do you read all that? And there's nothing on a website that says we'll deliver it in 2 days. But they just assume because Amazon and Next and all these big companies will just deliver everything super fast. They assume that's how the internet works, And it's quite amazing how many people are aggressively having a go at us on the phone because they haven't got an order in 2 days. And it's quite scary that they have that's their attitude nowadays. Whether you get any of that sort of going on.
Yeah, and I think that leads really nicely onto sort of my third point, which is about experimenting sort of more in business, but across lots of different things. So back in September time, I was over in New York and met a chap called Gary Nealon, who is very, very smart businessman, or all-round businessman, but really, really good at e-commerce. And he sells fitted kitchens online. Which is probably going to be the most logistically challenging product because they are, well, let's say fitted kitchens, they are then supplied to the customers to fit themselves or to use a local contractor. So they have to send kitchens on pallets to domestic addresses across the US and Canada. And he suggested something which I have a slap on the wrist, not implemented yet, which was videos on the order confirmation pages.
Right.
Because, as you say, customers don't read, to sort of flag up. So for him, it's a massive thing about exactly what they need to expect with their delivery. But actually, I think I can't think of any e-commerce business that wouldn't benefit from a video on the thank you page explaining what the next step in the process is. Yeah. Because a lot of people are, they're still incredibly worried about shopping online. It's kind of, it's difficult for those of us who spend our entire time online. For me, it's sort of, kind of computers and the internet has been with you since like school. So it just seems totally normal. And then I look at my kind of nieces who are, sort of like just like entering senior school, and they're so internet savvy, almost too much, because the security of the thing completely passes them by. Versus perhaps my parents' generation, who are so freaked out about entering a credit card online. And you've got to deal with that entire audience. The younger ones who just want pure speed and convenience. They don't want to speak to a human being. They just want to put the order in and have the stuff turn up. Versus the people who want their hands held the whole way through.
And the people,
top of my knee,
people want to phone up. Excuse me. The people want to phone up and give you their credit card details over the phone, and their CV2 number and their expiry date and their name and address. And they're happier doing that than they are putting it on a website.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of people that do that? Just as, or do you know? Or
and I think I don't know, he got on PCI DSS, which is probably another 20 blabs in another subject by itself. But PCI DSS is just a complete nightmare for a small business, and you don't really want to be taking credit card numbers over the phone.
And I would imagine that you, and this is actually perhaps me making massive assumptions here, but the jam jar business would perhaps be a slightly older demographic.
Yeah, generally. I mean, there's a lot of youngsters, but still, probably the older demographic is predominant. But a lot more youngsters are starting to come into it. But, yeah.
And they're with the sort of issues and sometimes it's just preferring to speak to people.
Well, I think in the early days, the biggest thing was trust, and it still is trust. And I think back in 2008, e-commerce was quite a new thing. Okay, you could buy your shopping online with Tesco's, but small businesses weren't online. They were on eBay, and that was about it. So to have a small business with a very slick website was a bit strange. And people would phone us up to check we existed. They wanted to believe we were there, and they wanted to talk to a human being, and whereas now e-commerce has moved on a lot. That's 8 years ago. And I think more people are far more comfortable with websites, and they're probably even now to the stage they're blasé with websites. And I see lots of insecure checkouts and some dodgy things going on websites that I wouldn't buy and put my credit card details into. So actually, I don't know whether it's getting worse or better, but less phone calls, but still get some. Let me just say no. You need to order online now. For security reasons, we can't take it over the phone, because it's just the time it takes. You can spend 20 minutes on the phone talking to someone. They spend £50. And whatever your profit margin is, there's not that much money in a £50 order to spend 20 minutes on the phone with someone. So we try and discourage it, but it's that balance of being nice to customers and not telling them to go away, but you can't. If you had that all day every day, you have to employ teams of people who sat there chatting, and that's not a profitable part of your business, really. So,
I think that's where the live chat can be a nice sort of compromise.
Yeah, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Talk about that. I'd certainly have a look at that, because I've looked at dozens and talked to. We find it's great because you can see where the customer's been on the website, because they know, they'll be on the website. You can see them online. You can see your customers, what they're doing. If they've been on before, you've got their names. Emma's just been on before. She's logged in. And so they're going to come on live chat, and you can see what page they're on, what they've been to. You can see them typing as they're typing. And so you're already knowing what they're going to ask before they hit that send button. So you're ready to answer the question, or you can check a bit of research beforehand. Because with the printing businesses, we're doing like online proofing, and people ask them questions about ink colours and can they do this, can they do that. So you can already see the trail of where they are, which is really, really helpful. So it cuts a lot of time out.
Yeah. There's an interesting question there from Carol as well. She's saying she's thinking of using Jing to send personal responses to her high-end clients rather than emails.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Jing, it's a way of like recording a screen.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really fab idea because you'll stand out so much. We've got then Evan Taxi saying he's using BombBomb, which I think is that another.
So that's sending the message to, so a client comes on the website and they get a message pop up.
I think what
it's going to do.
Working with like high-end clients one-on-one. So rather than sending them perhaps an email response or an email quote or something, putting more video in. There's an e-commerce company that I read about. I can't remember their details, but they were photographing, especially they were in the gifting industry. So they were doing a lot of, where orders were being sent, were being ordered and then sent to direct to the recipient. So the person who placed the order never saw the actual product. And what they were doing, which is a complete genius move, is photographing the orders sort of as they were being wrapped, posting it on social media and tagging the person who placed the order. I think they were doing it on Instagram, so they must have been very good at tracking people back through to their Instagram accounts. Sort of incredibly high touch customer service. It's an amazing idea. I can't work out a way of sort of implementing it from a sort of logistics point of view, sort of effective way. But if there's any app developers on the call and you want to come up with something like that integrates it,
if you've got, you can use APIs and stuff like that. I'm using Instagram. I know Twitter APIs I play with, and you can certainly direct send message or tweet from your back-end system if you've got their Twitter account. How you automate sending the photo as part of your production packing warehouse.
Yeah, well, I think it would be a really it would blow me away if I'd ordered something and they either, like you were saying with the personalized station, or something that's like mid-assembly, kind of customized products, or excuse me, things that go into a third party. I think very much what I'm saying about experimenting. It's about not just with your online marketing. So for me, the biggest wins this year has been from trying new stuff and taking things from outside my specific niches in the e-commerce industry, but actually outside of the e-commerce industry full stop, and really heavily implementing them. So if you are in the world of online, marketing perhaps as a coach or a sort of service provider, you can't spend 10 minutes on Facebook right now without getting hit by an advert for a life coach or a business coach, offering you some sort of free download. Excuse me, sorry, I'm just going to grab some water. And the idea is they're putting you into a sales funnel. So they're going to follow up with you in a sequence. And there's no reason why you can't be doing that in e-commerce. So, gulping away. So I ripped off one of an email sequence that was working well in a B2B, so business to business, super simple. So instead of taking them from AdWords directly to the product page, they went onto a landing page that was about that particular product range, sign up for a coupon, again, nothing revolutionary, and then they got a series of follow-up emails just reminding them that a coupon was going to expire, and FAQs. It was quite an expensive purchase. That the demographic who was buying that particular range were, like we're talking about, actually quite cautious about buying online. So at the time we had a physical store as well, and it just then tremendous conversion on that. It was such a profitable ad campaign, but the majority of the sales came on email 2, email 3, email 4, and sometimes you'd actually see people who. And then kind of once they'd kind of come out of the funnel at that point, they'd then just be getting fairly generic sort of kind of content, and then perhaps when there'd be new collection releases, and I would see sometimes it took 12 months to convert these people to customers. And so that's an example of taking something that's very much standard practice in business to business, popping it into e-commerce. There's so much just different for experimenting where, we've talked a lot about payment providers. experimenting with things like your shipping charges, experimenting with your website layouts, with so it's literally just test, and expect a high failure rate because you've got to mine through the crap to find the stuff that really works.
People don't read. I mean, we've had people on our website. You can see on the live chat they're on our website, and they're on the product page, and the product page has got a price in big letters. It says price. Underneath that is a box with quantity, and underneath that is a buy button. And people have phoned up to say, "How do I buy it?
Yeah.
And how much is it?" And they're on that page.
Yeah.
There's a picture, there's a price, there's a button that says buy, and they actually say to you, "How do I buy it then?" So people are all different. You know, do you look at your own website? You think you know your website inside out, but it's surprising. Everybody's different, and there's a whole world out there of people that surprise you every day at the things they say. Well, I didn't realise that, but some are quite astounding. They say, "How do I buy it?" You know? And but I had a guy the other day. This farmer wanted some jars, and he phoned up and wanted some advice on which size he wanted, which is probably for us the biggest problem because everybody's got a view of what a standard size jar is, but there is no standard. So I talked him through the choices, and he said, "All right, can I order some?" I said, "Well, yeah, just add it to your basket and check out." He said, "Well, how do I check out? What do I have to do?" And he'd never used a website to check out before, so I had to actually talk him through, put in your billing address, put your delivery address, and run through that, and he was fine. He was fine with it, he was quite happy. Once he'd been through it, but you can't assume that everybody knows checkouts, how they work, because they're not standard, generically they're kind of there, aren't they? But we've actually just done quite a bit of work on our checkout system. I talked about earlier when I was watching the comments on our billing page. The first thing we ask is what country is your billing and delivery address. So then we tailor the billing address page to be country specific. So if you're American, you'll get zip code. If you're Irish, actually, you now get the IR code.
Yeah, we only recently got zip codes.
So I've upgraded to IR code, and so the Dublin address system is different. The UK address system is different. French and American. So every country has a specific address fields, and they don't always call it first name, and they call it forename. So we tailor it for each country, which makes it really personalised. So if you're in America, you get, you don't get county, you get state. We've started playing with postcode lookup systems where you can search for postcodes, but we haven't implemented that as just a test at the moment, just really to make the checkout quicker, easier, less hassle. But the personalisation of it makes people feel comfortable that if they're in America, they feel as though they've got the right American form to fill in, and they're not trying to put in a county and a state field or vice versa. And so that's made some difference. I think the postcode lookup will make things a bit slicker. But we're just testing 2 or 3 different systems at the moment and can't decide which one to go with. But yeah, and then make it mobile friendly. SagePay just upgraded their checkout payment to mobile friendly, which is great. So people do. I mean, online designing stationery, we've actually had people order it on the phone recently, and I've been amazed that we get a lot of people browsing product, but to actually go in and design your artwork on a phone, and no matter how clever I am with web design, it's still quite a fiddly thing to do. And people actually have been ordering it on their phone, and I'm like, congratulations, have a discount for getting through it. But some products like that are complicated just by the amount of information. If you're designing a change of address card, you've got to put in lots of information, design it, preview it. But people are doing it, so it's
fantastic. It just shows the amount of opportunities there and that are available on e-commerce. And I'm just wondering, Christina, would you mind kind of going through, we probably won't stay on too much longer, just going through all your main points maybe for just what you've been talking about I've been putting it in the chat there, but just for people that are kind of joining the call, you might just run through all the different elements again if you don't mind, and we might just wrap it up kind of soon enough if you don't mind. Because we kind of said we'd keep to about the hour or 90 minutes at the most. So that would be great if you don't mind doing that. And thank you, Trevor, for joining us, because it's been fantastic getting some insight there, particularly into things like jam jars and print. And, there's so much diversity on e-commerce. It's great to get some insights from you.
Hands-on. I've been in the warehouse at midnight packing jars. I've been doing the finance. I've been doing the websites. I've been doing security. But, there is so much to get involved in. And I think a lot of people jump into e-commerce and think, just sell a few bits online. How hard can it be?
Yes, yeah.
There is a lot to it. So glad I could come along because I always seem to clash with your time slots. Clash with what I'm always doing something else.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, we're changing a few time slots, so we'll do that. So we might get you back. We might get you back, Trevor, for a more specific blab maybe to talk specifically about one or two of these topics, because it sounds like yourself and Christina could chat for a couple of hours various points. So that would be great. But thanks so much, Trevor, and I hope to catch up with you soon, actually. And and I hope you guys, I think yourself and Christina will end up.
Yeah, I shall follow.
Having a chat, I would say, after this. But thank you.
Thanks so much, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you another day.
So, as Emma said, I'll kind of recap. And actually, the first thing I want to say is you might be at this point completely overwhelmed by the thoughts of e-commerce if you're not in it already. And this is very much where it comes back to the first point I made about knowing your numbers. Because a lot of the decisions and a lot of the things that Trevor and I were talking about over the last 20 minutes, rather than guesswork, you can use your numbers. So I was talking about the sort of 3 or 4 key metrics that I use to monitor the sites on a daily basis, but you can also use those for decision making. So just an example this week, you always get kind of e-commerce is fast changing. More and more, retail is switching online, and every year there's changes. So you look back at one of the decisions certainly was it was phenomenally busy, and then sort of Saturday morning of this week there was a sudden sort of lull, and there was still plenty of time on my sites. Our e-commerce for Christmas, our cutoff was 1 p.m. today, so I was really keen to make sure we had another sort of strong 3 or 4 days. And so you're looking at it, well, is it just that people aren't shopping, or is it perhaps that there's something that you're not making clear enough? So to me it was, okay, well, look at the Google Analytics. Is there a drop in web traffic? Well, no, there wasn't. So then is there a logical reason why people aren't shopping? And the most obvious reason, so this is something you just got to implement a bit of common sense, is people were worried that things weren't going to turn up in time for Christmas. Because they were still on the website, so they were still interested in buying Christmas gifts, otherwise they wouldn't have been browsing that sort of site. And so at that point we just made a bit of tweaks in the shipping pricing sort of for 4 days only, and made the messaging more prominent actually during the checkout when people chose their shipping options. It said, that the next day delivery was guaranteed before Christmas. And then by Saturday evening, sales were rocketing again. I think my team wanted to kill me on Monday morning, but it was one of those. So that was the decision where you've got to make the call as the business owner which way to jump, and that was using some data to make a decision with confidence rather than just operating sort of blind. So, so my kind of point number 1 is really know your numbers. Make sure you've got Google Analytics installed. Monitor them realistically daily. Certainly during kind of busy periods, you can set up a daily report. They just come through into my inbox, so I can review them while I'm drinking coffee, wherever I am in the world. Even if I'm on holiday, I still check them because it is it's kind of 2 minutes to do it. And at that point, if it's going well, I can just email my team back home and say, "Great work, guys! I'm off to drink another cocktail on the beach." And if there's a problem, you can investigate it a bit more. And that kind of then led on to point number 2, which was really controlling your expenses, which is, to me, the main 2 that you can make big savings on quickly are your card processing fees, which can flip back and forth into as your volume builds, you can get better prices, but there's also a little bit of a balance between, I know Trevor, it sounds like he's not a massive fan of PayPal. On the majority of my sites, I run multiple payment options during checkouts because we saw increases in conversion by offering people the option. And there's things on the list. And shipping. So shipping and credit card payments, and that be negotiating better rates. You'll find that as your volume builds, you can easily get better discounts off Royal Mail. You can get discounts off your couriers. I would imagine it's exactly the same worldwide. Shipping it's just a volume game. The more you send, the better the rates you get. And also, actually, even really boring things like consumables. So are you getting competitive rates on things that you use an awful lot of? For us, kind of an A5 Jiffy envelope. I don't know how many thousands of them a year we go through. I probably should sit down and work it out. But I know that getting them two pence cheaper was a kind of significant cost saving. So Trevor's saying he'd been on the wrong end of PayPal. So I would, so again, diversity can be a good thing. It's putting some kind of safety things. And for those who are service-based businesses and anyone who does things like online launches, etc., PayPal can be a real problem when you have big increases in revenue all of a sudden. So typical e-commerce businesses, with the kind of steady growth, and then you expect more over a certain period. You can have something like where you get your products on The Apprentice and you have a massive sales spike, or you could be operating a business that's perhaps more online, sort of more information products where you do launches. I know there's been some big launches going on pre-Christmas for sort of membership programs. If you suddenly put £500,000 through PayPal when you've been doing £10,000 a month, they'll kind of clamp down on your money hard. So again, it's kind of asking around, and this is where having people who have already been down the same path as you to kind of point out some of the kind of pitfalls is a really, really smart thing to do. And then my point number 3 was about not business owners that are making a mistake of not experimenting enough, and you need to be testing a lot of things within e-commerce. If you look at the big guys, websites like Amazon, Zappos, just insane amounts of testing, even down to, I think Amazon tested something mad like 47 shades of orange on their kind of buy now button. That is perhaps beyond the capabilities of a sort of typical small e-commerce business, but you can certainly be testing things like shipping and various things around your website, different product upsells, etc. And beyond that is bringing in some really experimental stuff from outside of the e-commerce industry. So you should be really open-minded. And we've talked tonight all about e-commerce stuff, but I listen to podcasts and attend events and read a huge amount of books across so many different sectors. And I've learned and implemented and made a lot of money from businesses that had nothing to do with e-commerce. And this is where working and having, the great thing about these two girls is we are, Denise has been hashtagging this week, I love it, business best friends. It makes me kind of think I'm 9 again, but, and, we're all, we've got an international element here and, different experiences, different clients and different backgrounds. And quite often it's like, well, have you thought of this? Or why are you doing that? And that sort of questioning. And well, to be honest, I think any business is like a giant test lab, but I think e-commerce phenomenally so, because you've got such detailed numbers and it's so much more trackable, perhaps, versus we had Carol was asking some questions more to do with sort of like business to business and perhaps more of a service-based bits where sometimes it is a little bit harder to nail your metrics down. You have got no excuse in e-commerce to not be tracking pretty much everything under the sun. So Emma linked up to Google Analytics. The other tool I mentioned was hotjar.com, which is really useful for stalking but it's not stalking your customers because it's not retargeting, but it's in terms of sort of peering over your customers' shoulders, Big Brother style, as they navigate your website. So that's my kind of big 3. I'm going to do a more detailed webinar about some of the tech, because for that I really need to screen share. That'll be next Wednesday, time to be confirmed, on webinar versus blab. So if you're interested in finding out more, if you just say yes or something in the comments, and as soon as I've got all the sign up and everything set up for that, I'll come and kind of tell you guys about it. But I'm going to shut up now and kind of hand over to these two to tell you about something else we've been cooking up. So thanks so much for your time, and people who've kind of questions, Trevor for jumping on live. I love it when people are on live. So for those of you who aren't scared, it's honestly not that bad once you kind of, but maybe we'll do a PJ special actually, so people don't feel intimidated. So I'll have to do it from home rather than.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, so we might do perhaps over Christmas. Maybe we'll have more of a laid back theme. Look at Denise. Well, I can't believe she just said we're going to go on Blab in our pajamas. She's giving me her evil look. So that's it. That's the sign right now. But thanks very much for your time tonight, guys.
Yeah, and thank you everyone. We really appreciate it for you being in the chat and asking questions, and equally for Trevor coming on board as well. As Christina says, we have been cooking up something in the background for the last couple of weeks, and because Denise has not been really speaking this evening, we're now going to hand it over to her to maybe introduce kind of an idea we have for a new mastermind that we're going to do collectively. But I let her share all the details. We're quite excited about it, I have to say. So if you have interest in it, just have a listen, and it's something very exciting. So over to you, Denise.
Okay, so there's a number of you that have just come onto the Blab in the sort of last, 15-20 minutes or so. So just very, very briefly, a little bit about us. So I've got 25 years experience in business, and I spent 8 years of those for my sins as a chief executive. And Emma has a very substantial sales and marketing background across a range of industries, but also including working for the retail giant I call Lidl, but Emma calls Lidl. So I'm not quite sure.
That's actually the correct pronunciation. Now we won't get into that, but when I worked there, a few people used to come in and say Lidl, and the managing director used to have a stroke each time. So
yeah, and actually, I've got a German A level, so I should know that it's called Lidl.
Das ist nicht gut, ja.
Yeah. And then Christina has 3 e-commerce businesses, so she's been in the e-commerce industry for since 2001, and she also runs a digital marketing agency as well. And so that's just a little bit by way of background about us for those of you who come onto the Blab a little bit more recently. And we've met through a business community, a business program that we were both doing, and as we were all doing, and as we got chatting and kind of talking and kind of observing what kind of goes on in the sort of business coaching space, what we really noticed was that there's a lot of stuff out there for people who are relatively new in business, for startups. There's a lot of stuff on online marketing tactics which actually aren't always right for the business in question, and a lot of business owners getting quite overwhelmed and confused about what they should be doing, what the sort of strategy that they should be adopting for their business is. And what we observed was that there was very little out there around some of the other important aspects of running a business as well. So sales and marketing obviously of critical importance if you're starting out and scaling up. But if you want to grow and scale a business, then you've really got to become very good at understanding your numbers, understanding the financials, being able to map out all of that. You've got to get good at systemizing some of the logistics behind running your business. You've got to get good at recruiting and building a team and becoming a leader. So there's a whole number of skills that you need to develop as a business owner that we just didn't see really being catered for out there. And so as we got talking, we decided that we would, we're all doing our things separately. We're all working with clients individually, but that it would be really interesting to collaborate and work together and bring together a group of like-minded business owners who really want to take their business to the next level in 2016 and want to learn and apply and implement some of the more advanced business building and marketing strategies that there are out there. So I'm not talking about going all kind of tech and complicated and all of that, but some of the things that really are really critical when it comes to growing out a business. So we've put together this a curriculum for this mastermind group. It's in a PDF form, so it's not remotely glossy and shiny or anything like that. And so if you want to find out a little bit more about our mastermind group, then I'm just going to pop the link where you can get the prospectus into the chat box. And so it's just a link straight through to send you the prospectus, and take a look through it, see if it's something that might be of interest to you. And then we've got an application process as well, because we're very keen to make sure that we have the right group of people on board for this program as well. We've already got some really awesome people signed up so far to it, so we're really excited about being able to work with them. But we are still only, I don't know, a third or so of the way through our kind of launch process, if you like. So we've still got some spaces available as well. So that's probably as much as I want to say about it for now. Is there anything you want to say, Emma or Christina, to add to what I've said?
Just kind of, the same in one way, but just more, I think accountability, having people there for you. I wish I'd had something like that even when I started out. I've learned it the hard way that, you think you can do everything by yourself. And the reality is we're all good at certain things, maybe not others. And I think we all need direction. And I also think, in terms of family and friends, they're often not the best people to direct you with the best will in the world. So I think, having something like this, I'm really excited about it because I know it can help people. So I'm looking forward to seeing the growth, in the people that do the course or do the mastermind for the year. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And I'd highly recommend, if somebody is looking at growing their business, to have a look at it at the very least and have a chat with us or a PM with us and ask us any questions. Sorry, Christina, I cut across you.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna. Well, first of all, totally agree with you. And a big part actually of the growth this year is, it's there's a lot of sort of marketing strategy and tactics. There's been some, some kind of lucky wins, like, kind of BBC primetime exposure of products just during the Christmas period. But a big part of it is spending a lot of time and money learning and spending time with cool business people. Certainly the problem with e-commerce is it can be a really isolating business because you don't generally network in quite the same way. So with my marketing agency, I spend a fair bit of time, first of all, you're out and about and you're talking to clients on the phone or Skyping, and you're kind of doing exciting things like zipping up to London and whatnot. And e-commerce, as kind of heard from Trevor, it's not quite so glamorous as well. You're kind of there in a warehouse surrounded by boxes. So it's quite isolating, and definitely spending time with it's that whole cliche, you're the you're kind of the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with. One thing this year is I've spent time with really ambitious business owners, which is really heartening as a female business owner to be around women who are. There's nothing wrong if you want a lifestyle business, etc. My business is there to fund a really nice lifestyle for me, but it's a lifestyle that involves very expensive horses and a lot of international travel, as opposed to kind of a business I can run from home. So it's different sort of lifestyle aspirations. But it's just great to be with people who are going after aggressive growth. And these 2 ladies have personally, they give me great advice. We were there today. Even though I'm a professional marketer, if I'm going to run anything past anyone, they're some of my most trusted sounding boards. They know their stuff. If they, and it's been a lot of fun as well, because that's the other thing. Business can be frightfully serious, and yes, this is it's a program for people who want to see real growth. And so as you'll see, as Listening says, it's there's no. You're gonna guys get me ranting about glitter again. Any female entrepreneurs on Blab tonight, you cannot spend more than 10 minutes on Facebook without getting smacked in the face by glitter and peonies. So there is no glitter involved, but there is serious business growth, and but you can do that while having fun. And so sort of, if you want to, I very much hold the limelight tonight because we've done a special e-commerce edition. We are back to our sort of regularly scheduled Monday night 9 p.m. slots next week. And so the 3 of us are talking, and we're sharing, we're talking about content strategies.
And that's next Tuesday.
Oh, here am I. I'm off message here.
We're talking about marketing trends for 2016 is what we're talking about next Monday. And then
I'm getting so keen. I'm jumping on to our next special edition.
Yeah,
so
doing a special one around content marketing, because it's something that a lot of people that we know really struggle with. How to run a content marketing strategy, and what are the tools that you can use to help you to manage that in as time efficient way as possible. So that's so we're not getting off over the festive period.
And if you click on Emma's profile, you'll be able to subscribe to the next couple of blabs through that. So
I'll try and share the link, but I don't know if my Wi-Fi will hold up to going into Blab in a second thing. But yeah,
that's the content one. I'll see if I find the next one. But yeah, and if there's any more, if there's anyone, we've got time for perhaps one more quick question. But I'm afraid I've got an ice cold bottle of champagne at home. I've come back up to the office because we've got much better internet connection up here. But I'm feeling the need for some bubbles, and final Christmas order shipped out at 4 p.m. today. This is well-earned champagne. So, but yeah, thanks so much for everyone tonight. Some really great questions. Great to have everyone on live, and we will see you next Monday and Tuesday.
Indeed. Yes. Thank you all, everybody, so much. And thank you to Christina, especially, for sharing such wonderful insights. And thanks again as well to Denise. And thank you all for questions and tweeting out, and for all the love. My goodness, we got a tremendous amount of love this evening. So that's been fantastic. So thank you all. And see you Tuesday, 6 p.m. GMT time. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.